Hey now, listener, welcome back to another episode of the Coco and Adults podcast. We're real people, we do real reviews, and they're really interesting. We should add that, actually. Really funny? No. I'm not Coco.
And I'm not Dolls.
And what are we talking about in this action-packed episode of the podcast, Coco?
It is action-packed because today we are talking about Godzilla vs. Kong.
Yes, we are.
The brand new release. It is in theaters. It started streaming today on HBO Max. Today is when we're reviewing it because we want to bring you the timeliest reviews.
We are all over it. We're on top of it.
So,
do we need a summary?
I was just going to say...
the summary's in the title, right?
I knew that I was going to be the one to have to do the summary because this is not the kind of movie Daltz is really interested in. I kind of forced him to watch it. But then I was like, I don't even really need to do a summary because, it's Godzilla versus Kong.
Right.
That's really all you need to know about it. And honestly, the plot... Maybe I know what was going on, I'm not, the plot is really just kind of irrelevant, but...
Right. There was some other stuff going on that people were involved with.
When the people were on the screen, I honestly didn't really care.
Right.
I just, wanted to get to the monsters kicking ass part, so...
Well, in the audio in the version that we watched was not great when the people were talking, and at certain points I was tuning out. It was like, I don't care what they're saying. Like, sometimes I'll turn to you and say, what did they say?
But you did not do that once this movie.
I didn't do that once in this movie. I was like, I don't care.
And at one point I did want to tell you to turn it up, but then I was like, he's already so pissed off that he's having to watch this movie. I'm not going to make it even worse for him. So
you turn it up and then go sit in the back of the house.
So I'll try to give listener a bare bones plot review.
Yes.
So,
because we're professional and we're classy and we need to prepare listener for everything.
So Godzilla just goes nuts at the beginning of the movie and attacks a company called Apex Cybernetics, and people are like, WTF Godzilla, because you're supposed to be nice. And it turns out that Apex Cybernetics is nefarious.
An evil corporation?
Right.
This is totally science fiction.
In America, no less.
I don't believe it already.
Right. Truth, justice, and all that stuff, right?
Wow.
So, Demian Bashir... He is the head of Apex Cybernetics. He enlists Alexander Skarsgård and his daughter, Asa Gonzalez, as well as Rebecca Hall, who's a scientist who is watching over Kong. They have to go to Hollow Earth to get a nuclear material, basically like what powers Godzilla, because Apex Cybernetics needs it for nefarious purposes. But they're like, no, we're going to rehome Kong. This is where he should be. Maybe there are others of his kind there. And things go wrong, as they tend to do. And in the end, it's a battle royale between Kong and Godzilla and Mecha Godzilla.
What?
And they basically destroy Hong Kong. So, I mean, you don't really need to know the plot.
That's the movie right there.
That's
the movie.
Really need to know the plot.
There's some stuff with the scientist dad guy, Kyle Chandler, and
Kyle Chandler and
his daughter Millie
Bobby Brown, who's 11 from Stranger Things.
Yeah.
They reappear. They were last seen in Godzilla King of the Monsters. They're back. Kyle Chandler is basically not in it at all.
Right.
The Stranger Things girl has a pretty big subplot involving her friend who was a brought to life troll in Christmas Chronicles 2, and then Brian Henry Tyree, I believe that's his name. He's a conspiracy theorist podcaster who works for Apex Cybernetics. The three of them have a subplot where they go to Hong Kong unknowingly, and
Brian Tyree Henry.
Brian Tyree Henry. I'm sorry, Brian Henry Tyree, I think is what I said.
That's okay.
So,
and imagine that. So actually, this is a breakthrough in my life, probably your life too, Coco, because there's a podcaster prominently featured in a movie.
I was pretty stoked about that.
And
that was the best part of the movie. He was the best human in the movie, for sure.
He's also a little bit crazy. So
as are we.
I was going to say, this is not unusual or unreasonable to think about this podcaster as being a crazy person.
So before listener gets even more confused than they probably already are by trying to keep track of the nonsensical plot,
they can't get confused by Godzilla versus Kong. I mean, that's just, well, it's in the title.
It's because the writers actually tried to make it something besides just two monsters kicking each other's ass. And quite quite honestly, if it was just Godzilla and Kong going 10 rounds with Brian Tyree Henry, like on the side doing the play-by-play, I would have loved that movie.
So, internet, here's your mission.
Right.
Cut the movie so that it's just battle scenes, and that's probably about 45 to 60 minutes, maybe.
Or, alternately, give us the Snyder cut of Godzilla versus Kong. Dalton's ass still has not recovered from 2 weeks ago when
I think
we
I just had a
this.
stroke of some sort.
So Godzilla versus Kong is only 1 hour and 53
Right.
minutes.
We should state that.
Yeah.
And we should also state that we did a great deal of homework in preparation for watching this. We watched the previous one last night. So that was Godzilla, King of the
Monsters.
Right, King of the Poobahs.
And Daltz is still angry that I made him go see Kong Skull Island in theaters back in 2017.
That's true. I have a grudge dating back to 2017 about that. Watching in a movie theater.
And Daltz has not seen the 2014 Godzilla, but I have, and I can't remember anything about it.
Right.
So, Daltz, tell us what you think.
You're going to be surprised at this, that I actually enjoyed this more than I enjoyed. So the one that we watched last night, the Godzilla King of the Monsters, was just awful.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of really great actors in it.
Shockingly.
I was astounded. We were watching it and we were going like, hey, that's so-and-so. And hey, that's so-and-so. And he's good. And she's good. And like the lady from Up in the Air, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. Vera
Farmiga.
Yeah. And then Kyle Chandler, who's also really good and stuff usually. And everybody was really bad. And then Ken Watanabe, he was really bad. And so the acting in that one was abysmal, and it just detracted. And the special effects to me weren't really all that good. Now, that set the table for this newest version of the animal monster attack movies. And
the fourth installment of the legendary Monsterverse.
Thank you. I was hoping you'd do that. And so the table is set, and I'm thinking this is going to be terrible. It's going to be 2 hours. I'm going to be like, my bum is going to be numb, and I'm not going to be able to hear anything.
Dalton is like, I better get so laid tonight.
I'm building up valuable relationship points here.
Right.
Is probably the way I should put it.
Yeah.
And so I went in with low expectations, as Coco did when she entered a relationship with me. And I actually was impressed. I was entertained. The special effects were very, very good.
They were.
The toning and the shadowing and the water splashing. I mean, there were some inconsistencies. Kong seemed to vary in size from time to time. It looked like he was climbing a building, and then another time he was bigger than the building. Like there was some, like a different building. There were some variances there, but I mean, really, I'm the only one paying attention to that stuff when you're watching this kind of movie. Most people are just watching it to be entertained and like, oh my gosh, he just got crashed into a building. That's awesome.
Which is why I wanted to watch this movie.
I think that's what a lot of people want to watch. They want to see destruction and death and carnage, and then know it's not real, and then leave and go home and and then have dinner.
Especially at this point in the pandemic, when we've all been trapped inside for a year. Adults just saw a headline saying that this movie has made like $125 million in the global box office, which is nothing in pre-pandemic times, but currently it's the clubhouse winner. And I think at this point, we just all want some mindless fun.
It's made $90 million in China.
Wow.
So this is this movie, I think maybe, this is a typical first weekend of the summer movie.
Right.
Like this is the Memorial Day weekend kind of movie, right? Where you just blow it out. It's mindless fun. Everybody's happy to be done with winter and into spring and summer's coming up, that kind of thing. I will still say though that it was completely formulaic. It was completely, there were all sorts of references to other movies. They were copying other movies. There were lazy references to even the previous movie that we watched last night. The way that the climax happens with Godzilla was almost identical to the way, the way the climax happens with Kong in this movie is almost identical to what happens with Godzilla in the last movie. So there's a small range of imagination for these kinds of movies. And there's a lot of like Avengers in there, and there's a lot of
you did point out that Kong with the axe is like Thor with a hammer,
right?
And,
and there's all sorts of impossibilities where there's the heroes are just about to be squashed by the monster, and then Kong comes along at the last second and squashes the bad monster, and they're looking up at the camera going, "Oh, thank you, Kong." Like, it's just, that happens in every movie that I've ever seen, where it's like, "Oh no, the hero's going to die already," and no, the last second he's saved. So, there's a lot of that. But really, what do you? If you're going to this movie, you're not expecting, some sort of Howard's End or anything like that.
Right. This isn't Schindler's List.
Right. And there's not going to be a lot of engaging dialogue like
Right.
like a Tarantino movie or something like that. Like, I mean, some of the things that they were saying on the screen is just like, oh, did they really say that?
Right.
Like, I love the fact that when you're in these movies and they're flying in something and they're going to crash, and somebody turns around and says, "Hang on." It's like, oh, I wasn't hanging on. I'm glad you advised me of that, sir.
I couldn't see that giant mountain right in front of us.
The fact that we're sloping down and my face skin is peeling off, but, oh yeah, I will hang on. Thank you for that advice.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think a listener knows where I stand on these movies. Coco, you're the expert on these kinds of things. You tell us exactly what you think, because I'm interested in your viewpoint.
Well, yeah. So like I said, I mean, they tried to make the plot way too complicated.
Right.
Like, we didn't really need the people at all. The people aren't why real people are going to see this movie.
Right.
Right. We don't need character development for Rebecca Hall's character or whatever. Like, we just want to see Godzilla versus Kong. Mm-hmm. That's it. That's why I wanted to see this movie.
Mm-hmm. It's like Snakes on a Plane. It's like, you got me at the title.
Right.
Like,
that kind of gave it away.
Yeah, I know what it's going to be about.
Right,
you don't need to talk, we don't need to bring in its philosophy or anything like that.
Yeah, so the plot was just overly complicated, even though it was still stupid. Yeah, and I did like Demian Bashir. He just seemed like he was having a ball, playing just a bad guy who's just bad for no reason.
Yeah.
So I liked him. He's
corporate bad guy.
Yeah, he's good in everything he does.
What else has he been in? Not to put you on the spot.
He got nominated for an Oscar about 10 years ago. I think the movie was called A Better Life.
Oh yeah. I've seen him before.
And then he was just in something that we watched recently too, and now I can't remember what that was.
Sorry, that was an unrehearsed question.
We're going to have to cut that part out. So if you want to watch only the Godzilla versus Kong parts, the first battle is about 40 minutes into the movie. It takes place at sea. And then the second one, because there's only two battles between Godzilla and Kong, which I think is not nearly enough. I think there should have been 3. But the last maybe like half hour of the movie is just like a protracted fight scene between those two. And then at the end, they also bring in Mecha Godzilla.
And they team up against Mecha Godzilla.
Yeah, they team up against Mecha Godzilla. And so probably maybe it's an hour 53, maybe hit about the 90-minute mark if you want to see those. And that last scene was freaking epic. Like Godzilla versus Kong in Hong Kong, like they're just destroying the city. Like it was amazing. Like Dalt said, the special effects were fantastic.
Yeah, they were really good.
Like I had a ball during that scene. I loved watching it so much. So, and I will say Mecha Godzilla, I got to say Skynet has become self-aware several times during that scene, because he was supposed to be controlled by another nefarious corporate dude, and instead he went rogue.
He takes over, like HAL and all the other computers and these kinds of things.
So I was very happy that I got to say Skynet has become self-aware.
We really need to get like a Mystery Science Theater 3000 show, because
totally do.
Our comments during some of these movies are actually pretty funny.
Especially when we're watching like Wheel of Fortune.
Poor Vanna and Pat.
I think people really want to see that.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Yeah, I this isn't the kind of movie that is really going to make political commentary.
It's not very deep.
No, it's definitely not deep at all. I think they could have maybe made some subversive commentary because of the origins of these two characters in cinema.
Maybe we have to wait for the 4-hour version.
Right, the Snyder cut.
The Snyder cut.
The Snyder cut.
And can I also mention that I think the title is misleading, because it's actually not Godzilla versus Kong, it's Kong versus Godzilla, because Kong is in 3/4 of the movie.
Godzilla it's a Kong movie.
It's a Kong movie, yeah. There's barely any Godzilla involved, really.
Well, like I said, if they just... Brian Henry Tyree
Henry.
Why do I keep getting his name wrong?
Just call him Brian.
Brian. He was the best character by far. He was comic relief. I laughed out loud at several of his lines. And if he just would have been doing play-by-play of like Kong and Godzilla in a ring just going 10 rounds, I would have paid to see that. That would have been awesome. But yeah, so I think there could have been maybe some subversive political commentary on the origins of these two characters, how they were born out of bad things that Americans do. And then, I mean, they laid waste to Hong Kong, so they weren't really shying away from the political commentary. So
the Earth in this monsterverse is a destroyed, smoking wreck, because all we've seen of the monsters crash into buildings and knock them over. And there's got to be a lot of devastation. So I wouldn't, that's a bad thing. B, for me, I didn't think there was really a good enough explanation to me, like you mentioned, Coco, is that all of a sudden Godzilla, last time we saw Godzilla, he was saving the world. And then the next one, he's destroying the world. And it was almost like evil Spock. You know what I mean? Like, right, where did that come from? Like, all of a sudden Godzilla's a bad guy and we want to put him up against Kong. So to me, I had trouble buying into that from the beginning of the movie. That sort of impeded me a little bit. Is that, and you explained it why it happened, but I still was like, really? Godzilla's all of a sudden, he's a bad guy and he's going up against Kong? And
it took a long time for them to say why Godzilla attacked Apex Cybernetics.
Well, it didn't really even make much sense to me. Like, it was like, why didn't you just write him a note?
Yeah, totally.
Hey, you want to do that? Not do that because I'm Godzilla. Like, Godzilla's got to have like PR people, right? He's got to have an agent and stuff like that. Like, he's not going right in there and just stomping on things. He's got to be like, you know what? We could all just save a lot of trouble if you don't do that anymore, that bad thing that you're doing. And then everybody's like, oh, it's Godzilla. Of course we're not going to do that anymore.
I'm a nuclear-powered lizard.
Right.
Do you really want to get on my bad side?
All he has to do is kind of cozy up, look over at them askance, and then they're like, we've done something wrong. Because they know. They have the guilt inside them.
Right.
Like, and so they know.
Like, we got several close-ups of Godzilla, like, glaring and flaring his nostrils. So if he does that to me, I'm like, bro, what do you want?
Like you name your price.
Yeah, totally.
You're a nuclear powered lizard.
Right, totally. Like, seriously, you want me to stop doing something? You want me to start doing something?
Did I not come to a full and complete stop at that stop sign? Like, just let me know what I did.
Like, oh, you want the last peanut butter cup? Sure. It's yours. Take it, man. I need to lose some weight. It's all good.
So you don't need a 2-hour long movie. It's just like Godzilla cozies up and says, stop it, through his PR people. And then him and Kong go to lunch.
I would also like to say, though, that I thought so in Godzilla King of the Monsters, the reason, basically the madman in that wants the Titans to take back over the world because humanity sucks and we should just die because nothing good has happened since we've been around. But then that was opposite day in Godzilla versus Kong. Right. So Demian Bashir wants humanity to be the lone apex predator. So now he's trying to get Godzilla and Kong to take each other out. So even though I love Demian Bashir, he was not as sympathetic a villain as Charles Dance was in Godzilla King of the Monsters, because like the older I get, the more I kind of identify with people who are like, yeah, humans suck and we should all die. I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, duh.
We're not good for the earth, that's
right.
for sure.
So, Eleven from Stranger Things is all looking at her mom and she's like, you're a monster. And I'm like, you're young and idealistic. And when you're older, you will understand why your mom is doing what she's doing to bring about the end of humanity.
This bitter moment brought to you by Lemons from Florida.
By Jaded Cocoa.
I agree with you there. I think that there's a lot of things we can do for this earth and really that we're not doing them. I was going to say something else and I forgot what I was going to say.
And the biggest thing we can do is die. So
not watch movies that burn up electricity and.
Well, if we're going to not burn up electricity, then we should not do anything.
Right.
Really. I mean, we should just go back into caves.
Well, it's not such a bad idea.
Yeah, true.
The podcast took a side turn there, so I'm sorry about that. So overall, Coco, out of 26 letters, what are you rating Kong versus Godzilla, as I like to call it?
You go first, because I'm still deciding.
Oh, really? You're still deciding? Mm-hmm. But you want to hear what I say, and then you're going to go like a little higher?
No.
Oh.
Because I'm always higher than you anyways.
Well, that's true. 6.
6. Oh, okay.
Out of 20.
Out of 20. Oh.
No, it's out of 10. I can't change it. I can't have a different one every week.
That's never happened.
No, that's never happened. So out of 26 letters, Coco, and also shades of those 26 letters, because you could be plus or minus.
Right. That's why I started doing the letter grades, because I wanted nuance.
That's what That's what these movies are all about, is nuance.
Nuance, right. That's, I mean...
It's worth an A, but I don't like them. At minute 45 there, I wasn't happy with the confrontation.
A movie franchise called The Monsterverse is all about nuance.
Right.
That's why there was all that political commentary about the racial history of King Kong and the American nuclear origins of Godzilla in the 50s in Japan.
Is this an anti-nuclear movie or is it a pro-nuclear movie?
It's just a movie. It's got no message. It's really got no message. And I can't decide if I want to give it a C+ or a B-.
Oh, really? That's kind of low for you.
Yeah.
In these movies.
I know. Because, I mean, it was better than Godzilla King of the Monsters, but the plot was still...
That's a low bar.
We didn't... Yeah, that's a very low bar. And we didn't really need the plot, but the Godzilla versus Kong fight scenes were friggin' epic.
Okay, well, let's do it this way. So let's grade the fight scenes.
Okay.
And then the rest of the movie.
Just the fight scenes, I give those an A.
Okay.
Those get an A for sure.
And the rest of the movie?
Oh, the rest of the movie, I'd say like a C+.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
even that, right?
Yeah. So just watch the fight scenes. Like, man, Kong, he is a street brawler. He's doing the headbutt, and he's got like the right hook to the face, and Godzilla takes several like feet to the face for sure. He gets kicked in the face many times.
Well, and you got to think that Godzilla's got a pretty small brain, right? Because like his cranium is not very large.
Yeah, that is true.
Whereas Godzilla is the king of the jungle.
Yeah, Kong.
I mean, I'm getting these guys mixed up. Maybe it's time for me to stop talking.
You're like, really? Can we wrap this up?
Yeah.
Come on, I'm done talking about this.
Kongzilla? I mean, what? Which one was it?
That's gonna be the next movie, Kongzilla.
But they're gonna get together and have babies?
No, they're gonna have a. Well, there was a thing in there about like Mothra's pregnancy or something, and I was like, oh no, Godzilla didn't impregnate Mothra, did he?
And so what happened? We watched the end credits for the last movie, and there was this moment where the guy was like, "We'll take the head of the." Oh, so that's what was part of it. That was the recreation, but he wasn't in this movie, Charles Dance.
Yeah, no, I wonder if Charles Dance died actually, because that would explain why there's a new villain.
Yeah, but that doesn't stop movies before. I mean, we got Princess Leia after she died, right?
Yeah, Peter Cushing came back as a Grand Moff Tarkin. So.
Right, exactly. So there's all sorts of instances. Anyway, maybe we should wrap this up because we're at 47 minutes now. It's almost as long as the movie.
So thank you for listening. We appreciate your support. For another episode, I'm Not Dolls.
And I'm Not Coco.